The Russian invasion of Ukraine has still left many people in shock. A longtime South Coast professor says a total takeover of the country, however, isn't as simple as some of Russia's leaders may think. Dr. Peter Haslund has spent time in Ukraine. He believes even if the Ukrainian military is defeated, the nation's people will continue to resist. KCLU's Lance Orozco talked with the political science expert.
A longtime political science professor on the South Coast who spent time in Ukraine says despite the warning signs about a Russian invasion, he's still surprised that Vladimir Putin actually did it.
I was surprised. I thought we had gotten beyond this notion that you just walk into somebody else's country and take it over.
Dr. Peter Haslund was a political science professor at Santa Barbara City College for 40 years and is currently a member of SBCC's Board of Trustees. Haslund helped create the college's international and global studies programs. In 1990, he took one of his classes to Ukraine for a study abroad program. He shows a scrapbook of his stay, which has photos and a tiny flag.
Ukraine was still part of the Soviet Union, and this flag that you see here, this blue top and yellow bottom symbolizing blue skies over agriculture, this was illegal. I was carrying an illegal flag, and it was the year following that the Soviet Union disbanded and Ukraine became a legally independent country.
He says during that visit they saw the seeds of democracy starting to grow.
We decided one evening to go to the opera. There was sort of a roundabout near the opera house, and in the middle of the roundabout was a big statue of Lenin. And it was there when we went in. When we came out, it was lying on a flatbed truck, ready to be hauled off.
And Haslund vividly remembers watching a Russian military parade.
I remember walking by at the sidelines of the parade, and there was an elderly grandfather talking to his granddaughter, and he said, "You see those people pointing to the Russians? That's an occupation force. Soon we will get rid of them." I was a little taken back, but that's how they felt.
Haslund says, while everyone knows about this week's attack, most people don't know about Ukraine's troubled history. In the 1930s, when dictator Joseph Stalin ruled the Soviet Union, the Ukrainian people suffered through purges and abuse.
Millions of people died as a consequence of their policy. The Soviets used Ukraine as their breadbasket, and there was forced labor, and the food was exported out of Ukraine to feed the rest of the Soviet Union. And as a consequence of that policy, they had very little to eat.
It was so bad that when Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union and Ukraine during World War II, some Ukrainians initially welcomed the Germans. But that quickly changed when the Nazis began genocide operations and stripped the region of its food.
In Kiev today, there's a museum of the occupation that shows the horror of the German occupation. And then just north of the city is Babi Yar, which is where thousands of Jews were summarily pulled into Babi Yar, and they were there and they were all executed.
It's estimated that 5 to 7 million Ukrainians died during World War II. After the Germans were defeated, Ukraine once again fell under the rule of the Soviet Union until it became an independent nation in the 1990s. Haslund says the Ukrainian military will be hard-pressed to stand up to Russian forces, but that Russia will have a hard time if it tries to occupy the country.
Russian forces will probably soon overwhelm the Ukrainian forces, but the resistance is likely to continue and make life quite difficult for the occupation force.
Haslund has been in touch with a friend he made during his visit to Ukraine and admits he's worried about what's going to happen to the young man.
I was in communication with friends that I made there, wondering, how are you and are you keeping safe? We've been in contact with each other by email, and I've not heard from him today, so I'm a little worried.
The longtime political science professor says he thinks Ukrainians are disappointed that they haven't received more international support.
They feel let down that we have not done what we have implied that we would do on behalf of their effort to be an independent nation.
Does Haslund think that U.S. and international sanctions will make a difference?
I think they will. But it takes time, and Americans are, a little impatient, let's say. We want to see instant gratification on almost any front. And this is not going to be rapid. But I think it will make a difference.
That's longtime Santa Barbara City College political science professor Peter Haslund, who taught a study abroad class in Ukraine. In Carpinteria, Lance Orozco, KCLU News.